Hey parents, my name is Jack and I'm one of the youth directors here at Cornerstone. Last night we had the opportunity to do an incoming 6th grade parent meeting, and if you didn't get a chance to go to it, this is the video for you. We're gonna cover a few different things, like what to expect at youth group, what summer youth group looks like, and just a little bit about who Katie and I are, because you may have never met us before. We want you to know at least who the youth directors are for your kids. So what's gonna happen is you're gonna join into our Zoom call. Katie will be talking a little bit, but don't worry, you didn't miss anything. We were just talking to some parents at the time. If you have any questions throughout the video, at the end, there's some information about ways to contact us, and I hope you enjoy this video.
Gallery, because I can't just like watch myself because I get so distracted and thrown off, but you know, that's just me. But my name is Katie Huffnagel. I am the assistant youth director at Cornerstone. I've been here for about a year and oversee middle school ministry, so where your kids will be going. So that's exciting. So I'll just give you guys like a quick 60-second kind of overview of who I am, how I got here. So I grew up in a small beach town, Massachusetts, and I grew up going to a super, super old school congregational church, like white steeple church in the center of town. So a lot of my foundation was built there, but I was never really like in love with the church. So I like got to know who God was. I'm like, I love God. He's pretty cool, but I wasn't really just in love with the like church itself. But I was really involved with the youth ministry at that church, and I got interested in ministry there just because I was like, it's so transformational to see how these adults and older students are investing in me. So then I was like, I could do this. I could study this in school. So I was looking at local schools up in Massachusetts where I could study that. So I ended up going to Gordon College. So I live on the South Shore. So I just went up to the North Shore. So it's like an hour away, not far at all, but it was great. I really loved being at Gordon. So I got my bachelor's degree in youth ministry. And it was just a really formative time in my life just to learn more about scripture and kind of like continue to build on that foundation, and also learn from a lot of my professors used to be youth pastors. So they'd have like firsthand experience. So they were like, their theological mind would be over here, but they're also like, this is how you like invest in students and get to know them. So it was a really cool, like dual approach to their teaching. And I also worked up at a camp in New Hampshire when I was also in school. So that was a lot of where I learned like ministry can be really hard sometimes, but it can also just be so cool and stretching to see. Like, it's really hard. There are long days and long nights, but like the connections that you make with students and just being able to see God move so powerfully was really a really formative time when I was at school too. So I graduated last spring of 19 with my degree in youth ministry, and I had gotten accepted to go to grad school at Gordon Conwell. I was just gonna go down the street and get my master's degree, but then Lord was like, nope, we got different plans for you. So I think it was like a week before graduation, one of my friends was like, hey, I found like a middle school position down in a church in New Jersey. And, you know, like the Lord just like grabs your heart and he's like, that's it. And I was like, oh no, but God, like I already figured it all out. Like I'm going to go to grad school. I'm going to put off working for a little bit. And he was like, nope, you're going to move to New Jersey. So I moved here last summer and I've been here ever since. And it's been a really, really sweet year. And I've really enjoyed being here, and meeting everyone at Cornerstone, and the students are really awesome. So it's a little bit about me. So I guess I'll pop it over to Jack.
Just pop it over.
Pop it over.
And now I'm big. That's the funny
Wow.
part. I'm big. Yeah, so a little bit about me. Katie's title is the Assistant Director of Youth Ministry. Mine is the Director of Youth Ministry. And that's because we work hand in hand in just about everything. To make it a little easier, you know, we say Katie's, you know, she has, you know, oversight and oversees middle school, and I oversee high school, but you can expect us both at everything. A little bit about me is this is my 6th full-time year in ministry. So I've been a youth pastor right after college. You know, I grew up in the church. I don't know if you guys grew up in the church, but I went to VBS every year, and my mom was the Sunday school superintendent. So she kind of like ran VBS. And all I know is on Thursdays, they said, if you want more of Jesus in your heart, to raise your hand. And every year I rose my hand. And one year my mom and our pastor like sit me down and they're like, Jack, you already know Jesus. I'm like, but I want more of him in my heart. I was like that kid in church. You know, I was like in it to win it. You know, when it came time, you know, pick colleges, I had a few different, you know, vocational routes I wanted to take, but making a long story short, you know, God kind of spoke to me about youth ministry. So I went to Nyack College. It's like 30 minutes away from here. Went and got a degree in youth and family studies. I have my bachelor's in that. And then worked in Connecticut and Illinois. Now I'm here. So yeah, it's great. I really love youth ministry. Both mine and Katie's degrees are in, you know, spending time with teenagers and teaching them about Jesus, but also getting to know them really well, that we have some tools for that. So yeah, I am married. I'm going into my 3rd year of marriage, which is really exciting in August. It goes by really fast, I've learned, particularly when you're at home for like 4 months in quarantine. So yeah, married, and it's great. My wife's name is Nancy. And yeah, so they hired Katie and I both at the same time. So our first days were both the same day, which is really crazy when you work on a team together. So yeah, it's great. We've been at Cornerstone about a year, and we are looking forward for the next few. So that's a little bit about me and about Katie. We'd love to kind of tell you what to expect at youth group, because, you know, you have a 5th grade, you know, son and daughter, you know, depending on, you know, which of you is listening. And yeah, sometimes it's like, well, what does it look like? What does it mean? And what do these things look like? So I'm gonna have Katie kind of explain, you know, a few different parts of youth group, and I'll, you know, kind of explain the next from there. So Katie, what can we expect at youth group? And you're big again.
Sweet. Love that. So I adore middle school ministry because it's so much, it's crazy, absolute chaos, but it's also so meaningful just because middle school is just so much growth is happening. You're learning so much about the world around you, like who you are, who your friends are, like who God is. Like it's so much going on, like 3 or I guess 4, depending on what school you are. It's like such a short amount of time, but so much is happening. So it's a really sweet time. So one of our main priorities with that then is this idea that like every student belongs in our youth group, because I feel like middle school is just such a tough time. You're like, where do I belong? Like, where do I fit in? So we want to champion that, like we want to have relationships with the students in our ministry. And so we're really like driven by that relational aspect of it, and just like love getting to know who they are and like who they're becoming. It's a really sweet thing to be able to like walk with them in that. And also like partner with you as their parents. Like that's such a valuable role. Like we want to come alongside you with that, and just be like another resource for you guys as well. And so we just love being able to get to know kids. And like when we're on Tuesday nights at youth group, we'll break up into small groups, just so like even aside from already being like welcome, come on down, we're so glad you're here, we get to kind of break up even more. And we have small group leaders who are also really intentional with like getting to know students and investing in them and pouring into them. So even like on a smaller scale, like there are smaller groups where they'll meet with the same groups of people and just be able to like grow in those friendships and be able to get to know their leaders, get to know other students in their grades. So that's something that we really prioritize a lot. And, you know, Jack and I also love getting to know students one-on-one, and obviously like, of course, getting your permission first, but we love to be able to, you know, go on like bike rides, get ice cream, just kind of like chat with your students, be like, or your kids, and be like, what's going on? Like, what's new in your world? Because there's so much happening so quickly. We love being able to like check in on them and see how they're doing and what's new in their worlds. And especially in the summer, like I feel like that's such a sweet time because summer's so much slower and they're not being pulled in like 17 different directions all at once. So like I went for a bike ride with a student a couple weeks ago. I had a bunch of girls over my house a week ago, and we had s'mores and just played a bunch of games, and it was just really fun, especially not being able to have seen them for the last couple months. And like it's good to see you and like check in and actually talk to you in person, and socially distant, but we're still like in person together. So it's like a really sweet way to not just be able to see and connect with them on Tuesdays, but also the other 6 days of the week, and not just like on a 2-hour span.
Mm-hmm.
So really, we just like to champion like this idea that every student who walks through our doors to come to our program, like there are no qualifications to come here. Like we're so glad that you're here, and we want to celebrate that and get to know you. So we're just really excited to be able to bring up a new class. And like as our 8th graders are going to high school, like we get to welcome in a new 6th grade class. So we're just really excited to get to know your kids.
Mhm.
So yeah.
And it's back to me. Bam, nice and big. I just think it's so funny. For normal nights at youth group, I'll speak to those, and then we'll talk about summer youth group and youth group during whatever. I guess we're still social distancing and quarantine at home. But normal youth group for incoming, 6th grade students and middle schoolers is on Tuesday nights from 7 to 9 o'clock. We normally hang out for about 30 minutes, and that's a lot of that catch-up time of like, hey, how are you doing? Normally I'm at the door and I just make up a ridiculous song as kids come in, and they're embarrassed, but they love it, and it's very funny. I'll get other kids to do it with me. So it's really high energy, but we'll hang out with students for about 30 minutes. Then we'll play a big group game. And the reason that we do a big group game, just for a little bit of like the backside of it, is whenever a student walks into a new space, even if they've been there a million times before, whenever they walk in, their emotional and spiritual walls are up. They're asking, is this a safe place for me? So we'll play a lot of games that require a little bit of teamwork. And when I say physical touch, it's like playing tag, a game where you have to like work as groups to move something. Because the first thing you ask yourself is, am I physically safe here? So you do a bunch of high fives, fist bumps, pound it. And then the kid goes, man, I am safe here. And then we'll play a game and laugh a lot. So when we get to our talk, and this is, later in the night, kids' emotional guards are down so they can hear the good news of Jesus. That's kind of why we do all these different things. So we play a big, group game. We laugh a lot. We'll play tag, fist bumps, high fives. And then we'll usually go upstairs for worship. And it's usually live. I say that makes it it's not usually live. It's always live. We have what I want to say is there's usually a full team there. So normally I'll lead that. Sometimes we'll get some other people. And a lot of our leaders will help on the team. So your kids will come and they'll get to worship, which is really great. And we try to theme it a little more middle school appropriate, so a little higher energy, a little more fun. Not that it's not meaningful, but as with, 6th graders and, maybe, more kids around in the house, there's a lot of energy in like singing really slow songs. They just get like antsy and they like need to move. So they're fun songs. That's what we'll do. And then normally Katie will come up and then give a talk, the youth group talk is, I want to say a little of anything. Sometimes it's topical. So, hey guys, let's talk about anger. Sometimes it is, when I say biblical, we're going to study a book of the Bible one at a time. Sometimes it's a question and response night. So that time looks a little different for everybody. But the hope of that is by the time that we have, I don't say broken down, by the time we've worked through, physical, safety and emotional safety, kids feel spiritually safe to hear the good news of Jesus, So when Kitty's like, hey, Jesus loves you and he has, a purpose for your life, kids aren't going, well, I don't know if anybody likes me here. We've done all the work so they get to go, man, Jesus does love me and he does care for me. Katie's great at teaching. It is really fun to listen to her, kind of share that. So then after that, we'll have small groups, which when I say are a little different each year, it's a different small group leader each year or every few years. So we don't know who your kids' small group leaders will be, but they're going to have one the whole school year. And it's the same small group leader. And their job is just to get to know your kid and be there for them. So they'll have a set of questions like any small group. If you went to youth group or, something like that, hey, Katie talked about this. What do you think about that? If we were talking about anger, a question would be like, do you get angry a lot? I mean, that's probably a very basic one, but you kind of know what I'm getting at, Small groups get to know kids more and have them process the talk. And part of their responsibility is also just to check in with them, week to week. So we'll take prayer requests at the end of our small groups. And some kids will say, hey, my grandma is having surgery. So we'll say, hey, text them on the day of that surgery and then see how they're doing. So they're going to follow up with, your kids throughout the week. And we'll try to do that too. But that's a normal night of youth group. We have a few other things that we do. Well, after that, we'll go downstairs. This is important. How dare I almost forget? We have this thing in middle school called the Lame Prize. Whenever any kid comes, they're given a ticket. And at the end of the night, we'll usually have a snack. It's usually like a slice of watermelon, some chips, like very like simple snack. But then we'll draw the Lame Prize. And it's always like something that you don't really want to win, but it's funny because you won it at youth group. So like there was one time we found out we had like a broken alarm clock. So we it's a lame prize. It's lame and nobody likes it, but it's a prize that you get. And this kid takes it home and their parents text us later, like, I don't know why my kid likes this alarm clock so much, but they love it. We've given away wigs and like other things. And it's just funny for kids. It's try to, if you, many times, a lot of people when they're older end up leaving the church. What a way to segue. But what happens if you can give kids good memories, the idea of staying in church isn't as foreign to them as if they have bad memories. So we try to make youth group fun and memorable, whether it be giving wigs away or other things. So that's a normal night of youth group for the most part. And it's fun. We really like it. We have a few other, kind of programs that we have throughout the year, and that's running retreats, which is up in the air if we'll do that this coming fall. But it's just a standard retreat. We will, grab your kid for a weekend, and we're going to tell them about Jesus and how we can grow in our faith with a bunch of other kids. Usually it's a weekend in the fall and a weekend in the spring. We've historically gone to Camp Shiloh, about 30 minutes away. We've gone to a few other ones over the years. But yeah, we'll do retreats, and then we also do some service projects where, like our church does Patterson Relief on Saturdays. We'll say, hey, this coming Saturday, middle school's doing it, so come along with us. So those are the big things to expect. Every summer we have a camp trip and a missions trip. They are open for both middle school and high school. But as we talk about them, we want more of the middle schoolers to go to the camp trip and more of the high schoolers to go to the high school trip. But if you're like, hey, I'd love for my kid to go on this mission trip, I think it'd be great for their faith, we probably won't say no. The reasoning for that is we don't want to take a middle schooler on a missions trip to love people in the name of Jesus if they don't know Jesus yet. So let's take you on a camp trip, introduce you to him, give you everything you need to grow in your faith. So when you're in high school, you're actually loving people in the name of Jesus and you understand what that looks like. So that's the only reason why. But if you're like, I want my kid to go on a mission trip, we're like, sure, great, come on down. It'll be awesome. But what I'd love to do on top of a normal Tuesday is talk about summer youth group this year, because it looks very different from other years. And then just a few dates to pay attention to. The first is tomorrow. It is July 8th. We're doing in-person summer youth group, which is really exciting. We haven't had in-person youth group in months at this point, and youth group is not made to be online. It is made to be person to person. So we're excited for it. Katie and I have been planning for what that looks like. And in your emails, it has all the safety precautions we're taking. I don't have to rehash them unless you have questions. But we're doing our best to make sure every student, follow those guidelines and as safe as possible. But we're doing in-person youth group. It's going to be 7 to 8:30, all outside. Have them bring a beach chair or a blanket. It's going to be great. So that is a big date to know about. And then we're going to run it every week, hopefully outdoors. That's our plan. But I feel like that 7 o'clock rainstorm just looms in Jersey. So we have indoor plans as well for, students to follow those, social distancing guidelines and be as safe as possible. But yeah, youth group will go every week until I think August 12th. I believe that's the date. It's a Wednesday. Then we're going to take a few weeks break for, just to let Katie and I plan the next coming school year. We're usually out 2 or 3 nights a week, every week, on top of trying to do stuff in the office. So we'll rest a little bit. And then we'll pick back up a few weeks into September. I don't know if we have a specific date. Katie, do we have a date settled on?
We landed on the 15th.
Of September. And is it the 13th and 16th because the 15th is a Wednesday?
15th is a Tuesday.
Okay, so the 15th is a Tuesday, which means 17th will be high school. And then we'll run Tuesday night youth group, 7 to 9, moving forward from there, which we're really excited about. I think it'll be great. So yeah, those are kind of our quick dates for what those things look like. If your kid can't make it at any point during the school year or during the summer, we try to have youth group be as easy to come in and out as possible. Now we hope that every kid can come every week because we think it's great for them and their faith and their friendships. But if it's like, hey, like we're going on vacation or they have this softball game or they're really into soccer and can't make it, youth group is designed that whenever they can come, they still enjoy it. So that's kind of what's happening behind there for it. I think that's all of the youth groupy things. Katie has one more thing, and then we love to do, I call it a Q&R for question and response because I may not have a good answer. But Katie, what's our last thing? And then we will do our quick little Q&A.
Sweet. So one of the primary ways that we communicate with students and parents is through like a texting website, which I didn't know existed until last year. So when I found out about this is revolutionary. But if you guys want to sign up for that, I can give you the number. It's like a 2-step thing, super easy. foolproof. I love it. So Jack, if you want to maybe put that in the chat, maybe just because I always like having a visual as well. But if you want to text the following number, that is 77948.
48. And you text youth to that, right?
You text youth. Then you will automatically get signed up for updates from Jack and I. So we'll text just to remind about youth programming, if there are any special events coming up. So it's a primary way that we just like to communicate with you guys on top of like emailing. But I feel, at least for myself, like I check my text messages far more than I do my emails. So I like kind of having that like text reminder. So if you guys want to sign up for that, that's all you got to do. Text youth to 77948.
Cool.
Yep.
Let me stop recording because I figure Q&A over recording will be incredibly boring to listen to.
Parents, thank you so much for watching our incoming parent meeting for you guys, the incoming 6th grade students. If you want to contact us, you want to email either me, Jack Hein, at jhein@cornerstonenj.org, or Katie, and she's mostly responsible for middle school, so you want to let her know for most things. If it's middle school related, it's going to be at khuffnagel@cornerstonenj.org. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.